welcome to the Earth Feels podcast.
I'm Rose.
And I'm Christine.
Welcome to Earth Feels, the podcast for people feeling overwhelmed by the endlessly gloomy climate news.
Where every week we have soul-based conversations about climate change and explore the idea that climate change may be happening for us as much as it is happening to us.
If you are ready to shift your focus and secure the future for our kids and our grandkids, then this is the podcast for you.
And yes, we do know how to spell.
Hello, Christine.
Hi, Rose. Nice to see you.
And you're back in Red Lake.
Back in Northern Ontario, beautiful, wintry Northern Ontario.
Yeah. And I'm just getting ready to go to California. This cold weather I am not a cold weather person.
I love the sunshine, and it's so sunny here. Well, it's not actually today, but when the sun shines like it did yesterday, and it's a blanket of white snow, there is no better place to be than outside walking on that kind of a day, as far as I'm concerned.
Okay, well, if you turn the temperature up about 80 degrees, then I'm with you. No snow.
Okay,
but...
this is a global warming discussion, climate change. So I'm clearly a better poster child for it than you are, my dear.
Oh, yeah, I just love a beach. I love a beach. Good holiday. Oh, it wasn't your holiday. It was just my holiday.
Yes, that's right. You just had Thanksgiving.
We just had Thanksgiving. It feels like a lot to be grateful for this year. Tough year, but I think I saw this meme. It's this may not be the year that you get everything you wish for, but it's the year that you're grateful for the things you have.
I think that's so just profound right now, and a good reminder to me for sure, and maybe to some of our listeners, just to be grateful. I know our daughter isn't the one that lives outside of Toronto, isn't coming home this Christmas. She had a ticket and she's canceled it just because of traveling with the pandemic. It's just too risky. She doesn't want to risk it bringing it home, basically, because she'd have to travel through a couple of hot spots. And that's the first year for our family that we haven't been together. Anyway, so we'll be thankful that all of us are healthy, and it's tough on my dad, who's in his 80s, because he lives alone, and now they're in lockdown in Manitoba, and so he can only have one of my siblings visit, period. Not one at a time, but just one outside contact. So he can go outside, and my other brother is meeting him for a walk once a week, but only one brother can go into his condo for a visit. So anyways, it's different, but you know what? We're getting creative. He's got the best 2 Advent calendars ever, and we're Zooming once a day as he opens the gifts. Well, one's a bunch of gifts that I dropped off. Yeah, well,
incredible. That's incredible.
Yeah, and it's just 10 minutes. I mean, yesterday was the first one, but so I picked up a bunch of gifts and like just little things, and mostly food, and obviously not Chinese junk from the dollar store, but books and DVDs from Value Village and things like that. And so I dropped it off. So there's one gift every day for him in there. And then my brother ordered him an Advent calendar of beer. And so he opens one of each. It's a different beer. It's a craft beer, apparently a different beer for every day. So yeah, we zoom in and he opens them. So you know what? If you get creative, right, even in these pandemic times, it's possible to connect with people and feel the love that connects you even over a distance.
It's interesting. I've had a number, and I want to say at least a handful of people that hadn't really heard from in years. Not necessarily that I fell out of favor with them for negative reasons, just how you grow apart depending on the stage that you're in your life again. And then a couple of people that kind of like wrote me off or whatever that have showed up again. And it's like, and it's lovely because I think we're all at the point where like we're willing to let stuff go. We don't have to rehash it. We can just be happy that we're both alive on this planet at this time and rejoice in that. So
Nice.
I think COVID's been teaching us a few things. Some of us anyway. That's a positive. Yeah. So lots to be grateful for. Lots to be grateful for.
Yes. So repeat that again. 2020 is not a year to have everything you want, but to appreciate everything you have. Is that the?
Yeah, 2020 might not be the year you get everything you want, but it's the year that you appreciate everything you have.
I like that. And speaking of giving and receiving, we're going to talk about books.
Yeah,
for the holiday season.
What are some good climate books for holiday gift giving?
Okay.
And some oldies in there, and then some new ones that we're anticipating reading. So
our listeners won't be surprised to hear that on both of Rose and my list, we had Drawdown, which was published, I believe, in 2017. The most comprehensive plan ever proposed to reverse global warming, edited by Paul Hawken. Now, you actually don't need to buy the book. You can go to their website if you'd rather not. I love this book as a reference, but most or all of the information, in fact, updated information, is on their website, drawdown.org.
Okay. Yeah, I know that they had some updated things. What I love about Project Drawdown is it's all hopeful. It's things that already exist. It's not pie in the sky solutions that maybe if we get our act together 10 years from now, we'll be able to do this. It's all things that are happening right now that are possible, or it's all things that are happening right now that if we can scale them up are tremendous solutions. And I think being in this work long enough, it feels like there's not one silver bullet. It's going to be a mosaic. It's going to be a patchwork quilt of all different kinds of things. And there's room for everybody at the table to do what their expertise is. And Project Drawdown really illuminates that, I guess.
All right. So that's number one on our list, Project Drawdown. So you go. I stole the one that was on both of our lists. So you get to go next.
Well, I think this next one is on both of our lists too. The Future We Choose, right? Surviving the Climate Crisis by Christiana Figueroa. Or did you have a different?
I actually have I have purchased that, but I haven't read it yet. So yes, please talk about it. That's my goal, is to finish that before January.
Well, so Christiana
Figueres, I believe it is.
Oh, and Tom Rivet Karnak. They led the negotiations for the Paris Climate Accord. Is that correct? Or the UN? Yeah,
I know Ms. Figueres did. I don't know the other name, but if that's what it says.
Well, it's just, from what I understand, so I have not read this book yet. There's a couple books here that are on my list of want to reads in early 2020, and I'm looking for optimistic things. We've had enough doom and gloom over the last 4 years. I'm like looking for positive things to buoy me up, and I think from what I understand, the authors outline 2 different scenarios for the planet. They describe what Earth will be like in 2050 if we fail to meet our targets, and then they also describe what it will be like if we get creative and we can live in a sustainable world. So it does present a little bit of the clutch your heart, but
can't talk about climate change without talking about that.
That's for sure. Yeah, that's for sure. So it just presents options, and it tells our governments, what we want to do, and I think it inspires us to take action. I haven't read it yet. I think it will inspire me and hopefully other people who read it to take further action and voicing in letting our governments know through our voices what we want, what we see as important.
All right. Well, so we've got two listed now. I think my next one might be an oldie but a goodie, because on the way back we drove from BC to Northern Ontario, so that was a long 3-day drive. But we had an audiobook of Barbara Kingsolver's Animal Vegetable Miracle, which was published in 2008. And it is just such a lovely ode, not only to her family, but to local food and growing your own food and gardening, and to the miracle that gardening is, and that the world is actually. She's a novelist, but she's also a biologist, and she always brings that perspective to her books. I love all of her books, but this one, in this context, I would highly recommend Animal Vegetable Miracle. If you haven't read it, read it. And if you read it ages ago, like Rose, reread it.
Yeah, I read it ages ago, but way before I was even interested in climate. So I'm sure every time you read a book, you get a little bit something different.
Mm-hmm.
So speaking of oldies but goodies, is This Changes Everything by Naomi Klein, Capitalism versus the Climate. And she's basically challenging us to look at capitalism and look at our need to constantly consume. And here we are talking about Christmas gift giving, but you can buy books secondhand, and you don't have to just feed Mr. Bezos's bottom line, but you can buy books secondhand.
And that's a good thing that we're recommending some that aren't brand new, because those are easier to find on used bookstore shelves.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So,
and I think that came out in 2015, so it's not that old.
No, it's not that old. And she's written a number of other ones, but but I think as an economist, that appeals to me. This changes everything. How do we look at, if we're not consumers, who are we? And
it's excellent book. It's not an easy read, but it's an excellent book.
Yeah.
And I would just shout out, Naomi Klein is Canadian. Yes.
Okay. So that she gets an extra check mark next to her name, a little gold star.
A little extra maple leaf.
Yeah, a little Santa. She's on the nice list. Santa gets an extra check mark next to her. The other one is that I am ordering is Climate Courage. How tackling climate change can build community, transform the economy, and bridge the political divide in America. So, wow, that's pretty ambitious.
Lofty. Yes. Yeah. Who's that by?
Andreas, I'm going to say the last name wrong, Karelas, Karelas. And what he says basically is that we don't often hear that we have all the tools to solve the climate crisis. And if we do it, it will improve our lives. I mean, we're fed, oh, if we leave fossil fuels behind, if we do this, it's going to cost this, it's going to cost this. What are we going to get? How can we, open your heart? How can we step into a future that is more beautiful than the one we have right now?
It is. Yeah. It is. It's in so many ways. All right. Well, maybe we'll have you review that book in the new year.
Yeah, maybe I'll be able to read a couple excerpts or something from it, because it's supposed to be stories that are empowering and inclusive and solutions oriented, and not based in fear, which we've had enough fear.
Yes. So my next pick, so from 2014.
Oh my God.
It's a novel. It's a novel. Hey, don't scare people. It's Thomas King.
She can barely lift that with one hand.
It's not true. Thomas King is, he actually was born in the US, but he lives in Canada now. He's an Indigenous writer. He's got a wicked sense of humor, and I love all of his books. He actually has detective stories that he writes, which are just a hoot. But this one is called The Back of the Turtle. It's a novel. And it was the winner of the Canadian Council for the Arts Governor General's Literary Award a couple of years ago after it came out.
Tell me his last name again, or hold it up.
Thomas King.
Thomas King. Okay.
And it's a novel about climate change. Okay, confessions, I've owned this for maybe a year or two, and I have not read it, but this podcast episode has prompted me to dust it off, and I'm committed to reading it over the holiday season, and I will report back in the new year, just like you will. But like you have talked about, it's hard to always talk about climate change and fear and the science. But this story is about a scientist who abandons his laboratory and returns to the Smoke River Reserve where his mother and sister live. And he finds almost everyone in the community has disappeared. Even the sea turtles are gone, poisoned by an environmental disaster known as the Ruin. So, and then it goes on. I'm not going to read the whole description. The fact is, the scientist himself, his name is Gabriel, was the chief architect of the disaster, and he has come to Smoke River to witness the destruction he created and to drown himself in the sea. Wow. But as he prepares to let the water overtake him, he sees a young girl in the waves. Plunging in, he saves her and is soon saving others. Who are these people with their long black hair and almond eyes who seem to have fallen from the sky? The Back of the Turtle draws on Christian and Native mythology and on King's own unmistakable instinct for mischief to give us a cockeyed Garden of Eden for our times. So,
wow, that actually sounds pretty good. It sounds a little sci-fi and a little bit of futuristic, and sounds very good.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think we would be remiss if we didn't mention Harriet Sugarman's book.
Absolutely.
How to Talk to Your Kids About Climate Change. And for those of you who haven't heard our interview with her, I went back and looked at its episodes 65 and 67. We all, as parents, as grandparents, need to be talking to the next generations and inspiring them to be climate activists. So, and helping them understand things, helping them understand what the world looks like and their responsibility to it without instilling fear in them. So great book.
We need help. We need help with that. That's a tough job. Yeah. So Harriet has stepped into the void and is giving all of us her very good advice and from her experience.
Yes. Yeah. Climate Mama, Harriet Sugarman, Climate Mama. Yeah.
All right.
And then there was a book that I came across the other day that I'm sending to I don't have grandchildren yet, but my best friend has 3 little girls.
I hope they're not listening to our podcast or the surprise will be ruined.
I'm sure they're not because they're 8 and younger. So
okay.
But this book is written for kids that are 8 and under. And it's called Our House is on Fire, Greta Thunberg's Call to Save the Planet. And it has beautiful artwork. And it's a picture book for kids from ages 3 to 8 about.
And who wrote it?
The woman who wrote it, his name is Jeanette Winter. And apologies to Jeanette Winter. I don't know anything about her. There's beautiful illustrations. And, it tells Greta's story and about a girl at 15 who decided she wasn't going to be complacent about what the adults in the world were doing. And I think it's just a powerful message about what young people can do as individuals when they decide, or what we can all do as individuals when they decide to act. So it's motivating. and it's inspirational, but it's also, it comes back and hammers home Greta's words. I don't want you to be hopeful. I want you to panic. I want you to act as if our house is on fire, because it is. And I think that's a great book to be for every young kid to have in their library.
I know a few adults. I might.
Yep.
There's a YouTube video, I think, with the author reading it. So I'm going to post that link on our website.
Okay. Of this?
Yes.
Book? Oh, awesome. Okay. Yeah.
It's
cool.
from March of 2020. So.
Yep.
Great. Well, I don't think we have any more time, and yet I don't think that we're also out of books, but maybe we'll have to do this another time. That was fun.
Yeah, that was great. So good news. And I'm like so excited about this, that the Biden administration created a new position for John Kerry, naming the former Secretary of State as a special presidential envoy for climate change. So he'll be on the National Security Council, which will bring in the military end of things, which that this existential threat is a security problem as well. But he will be overseeing the whole federal approach over many agencies and their responses to climate, and then reporting to Biden. So
wow.
It's just
great news.
Huge news. Just a collective sigh of relief.
Let's just have inauguration happen already. So these hijinks can end.
I know.
But
yesterday being December 1st, I was like, okay, great. We only have one more month, but can we just pull the plug on it? Can we pull the plug on 2020 already?
Yeah, that is wonderful news. And for our action and sanity tip, I would suggest, why don't we recommend our favorite escape from climate change books, or I'm putting you on the spot here, or maybe shows. What can our readers do? I have to say, I have been taking refuge in historical mysteries. There's some it's a very specific genre, but once you start delving into it, there are a lot, and some of them are better than others. But another audiobook that we listened to on our very long road trip is by Laurie, I believe it's Laurie R. King, and it's called The Beekeeper's Apprentice, and it's a retelling of the Sherlock Holmes story from the perspective of a teenage girl. And very well written. She's a good writer, and I'd recommend that. How about you?
Actually, I have been reading mystery novels. And I'm going to not be able to come up with the names of the authors that I've seen. Patricia Cornwell, Sue
She's
Grafton,
a classic.
Sue Grafton, who has actually passed away now, but she did the Alphabet Mysteries.
Did you get to see? If I say Z, I'll also have to say it in Americanese, which is Z.
I don't think she got all the way through. I don't know. Last
I love her books.
T or something. Yeah.
Okay.
I loved her books, and and just quick reads, escapism, but your mind is actually working, and as you're trying to figure out whodunits, basically. Whodunits. I love those kinds of things.
Lovely. Well, there we go. So thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next time.
Happy holidays. That's this week's Friday episode of Earth Feels. Special thanks to singer-songwriter Kristen Hoffman for generously allowing us to use Song for the Ocean. Thanks for listening.
Don't forget, subscribe to our podcast so you don't miss an episode. Catch you next time.
Bye-bye.
Children of the earth, I'm calling out. There's a mission for you and for